Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Professor Dr. Aneela from University of Veterinary Animal Sciences, Lahore. I'm really very thankful to Dr. Tanveer for allowing me to present this presentation uh, on a research topic that we have done in our project. To begin with, I just give small detail of few uh, data from the Pakistan. The economy of Pakistan is 25th largest in the world in terms of purchasing power parity and 38th largest in terms of nominal gross domestic product. Pakistan is one of the next 11 countries and it has the potential to become one of the world largest economies in 21st century. It is located in the resource rich Asia and total area of 79 lakh 6,095 square kilometer. It shares its border with India on the east, China on the north, and Iran and Afghanistan in the west. The country is geographically divided into five main provinces, and the population size is over 190 million with an annual growth rate of 1.55%. In terms of area, Balochistan is the largest province, and in terms of population, Punjab is the largest province. Over 64% of the inhabitants live in the rural areas and are mainly involved in the agricultural activities that include raising of animals for the domestic and commercial purpose. The farmers are connected with the markets for supply and of these livestock through organized and unorganized market mechanisms, and animals are raised in various parts of Pakistan. These livestock are the source of foreign exchange earnings and contribute 3.1% in the total exports as well. More than 8 million rural families are engaged in the livestock production and deriving more than 35 to 40% of their income from this sector. The government is already focusing on this sector for economic growth, food security, and poverty alleviation. The overall livestock development strategy revolves around foster private sector led development with the public sector providing enabling environment through policy interventions. The regulatory measures are aimed at improving per unit animal productivity by improving health coverage, managemental practices, animal breeding practices, artificial insemination services, use of balanced ration for animal feeding, and controlling livestock diseases of trade and economic importance. The gross value addition of livestock has increased to 2.5% over the last years, and livestock units per 100 people of agriculture population has grown to 40 to 45. These figures clearly show the importance of livestock in Pakistan's economy. When we see the trends of the livestock population, including camel, uh, uh, the population of all other species like cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goat has increased over the years, but unfortunately, the camel population has not much increased. All of these species are used in the food chain, and the per capita meat consumption in 2000 was 11.7 kg. That increased to 14.7 kg in 2009, but still additionally now per capita meat consumption has reached to 47 kg by this year. We obtain a number of products from these live animals, including meat and meat preparations, guts, casings, bones, blood, skins, fur, in addition to meat, ghee, cheese, butter, and butter oil, etc. And these products are a raw material for value-added industries such as leather, processed food, and textile. The main source of these products is from daily slaughtering of the animals, and daily slaughtering include camel as an important animal for the supply to the consumers to meet their nutritional requirement. And nowadays, the likeness of the public for the camel meat has also increased, but the purchasing power of the public is not that much high that everybody could afford the meat of camel. A large number of camels are slaughtered at the on the eve of Eid ul Adha, and where along with the meat products, hides and skins are also obtained. Camels are vital socio-economic importance in our country, and people are using camel not only for drawing water from the wells but also plowing and leveling the land. Uh, we have seen working mini mills for oil extraction, grinding wheat, corns and other grain, crushing of sugar cane, pulling carts for transportation of goods are all the works that are in which the camels are being engaged. Camel is also a useful food source, and its milk is often a regular source of food, especially for their owners. Nowadays, general public has also started taking camel milk as a source of food and immune booster. The camel meat, wool, and leather are also widely used, and camel price in our country ranged from 70,000 to 2 lakh, depending upon the weight of the animal. But there are constraints in the domestic livestock supply and value chain, and this domestic livestock supply also included camel. Like meat production is still considered as a secondary livestock activity. There is low productivity per animal, inappropriate feeding and nutritional management. There are issues in meat processing. There are still veterinary services insufficiencies, and inefficient breeding management policies are there. Stakeholder awareness and training also requires a lot of attention. And most importantly, international standard compliance and traceability issues are there if we want to compete in the global market. Beside human loss, the COVID-19 pandemic has also posed a negative impact on Pakistan's economy, and by the side of demand and supply, the pandemic affected all sectors of the economy, including livestock. And the lockdown has not only struck the domestic demand for the livestock commodities, but also generated supply and demand issues for exports as well. With this background, I just switch over to my topic of seromolecular detection of borreliosis in dromedary camels, and this small study was a part of our Park US Science and Technology project under the title of capacity building of vector-borne neglected diseases of livestock. In this project, we studied neglected diseases in cattle buffalo, as well as in pets and camel as well. So uh, uh, why we have used camel in our study for studying this disease in camel is because that camel farming, it is an important part of the whole livestock production, and we have seen it from the figures as well. Pakistan also holds 23% population of camel in Asian countries, followed by Somalia, Mauritania and Sudan, and there are about 0.32 million houses that are connected with the camel production in Pakistan. As far as borreliosis is concerned, it is a multisystemic tick-borne infection caused by Borrelia, burgdorferi, sensu lato, burgdorferi, and it is one of the problem in medicine due to extensive spread in other animals like dogs, cats, horses, even wild animals where the pathogen is endemic. And Borrelia infection generally shows signs of weight loss, illness, and nervous signs, lameness, and arthritis in animals. And in humans, the first sign of this disease is arrhythmia, like we have seen in case of dengue fever as well. The causal agent of Borrelia burgdorferi is retained in the exotic phase and is transmitted by the species of exotic ticks with the vertebrate host that are helping in the extensive as an extensive source or reservoir of infection for these ticks. Population of ticks and Borrelia infection within a nymphal phase are serious risk factors, not only for the animals but also for the human beings. And the doxycycline is mostly used for the treatment of this disease, but in our study we have tried to use turmeric because turmeric has many medicinal properties. It is broadly cultivated in Asian countries, and recent studies have shown that it has got antimicrobial, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, nephroprotective, antivenom, hepatoprotective, and anticoagulant properties. As far as diagnosis is concerned, the detection of borrelia burgdorferi is a direct detection or detection technique, and previously there were many techniques that were used for borrelia burgdorferi detection, and these include cultivation in vitro, nucleic acid based detections, microscope based assays, and antigen discovery of this pathogen. The specificity and sensitivity of these methods are variable among labs and also among different vectors. Among these methods, the detection of Borrelia burgdorferi through in vitro cultivation has been accepted to confirm the disease in animals. Nevertheless, many PCR-based methods have shown a great significance in diagnosis of this disease in labs, since PCR's specificity, sensitivity, and capacity of quantification is obvious. Based on our hypothesis that the camel population in south of Punjab is infected with Borrelia species, we selected two districts, Bhakkar and Bahawalpur. So one of our hypotheses was that camel population in Bhakkar and Bahawalpur is infected with Borrelia. Tick infesting camels in Bhakkar and Bahawalpur are a source of Borrelia species, and the efficacy of turmeric and doxycycline, along with immune boosters, is better than turmeric and doxycycline alone. So, based on these hypotheses, our objectives were the detection of Borrelia species in dromedary camels, along with ticks, using seromolecular techniques, and phylogenetic analysis will be done. Then identification of ticks that were found on the camels in these study area of Bhakkar and Bahawalpur, and comparative efficacy of various therapeutic regimes against borreliosis in experimental animal was our third objective. When we see our study area in Bhakkar, they were four tehsils, while in case of Bahawalpur, we selected five tehsils of Bahawalpur. From these study areas, we collected blood and tick. Blood samples from camels were collected, 270 from Bhakkar and 135 from Bahawalpur, and these samples were processed for gene sustaining PCR and ELISA, while ticks were also collected from camel, 100 from each district, and these ticks were later identified, and they were then dissected, and their internal organs were processed by PCR for the detection of borreliosis in the ticks. The risk factor analysis was also done, and we selected these risk factors of age, gender, species, tick infestation, and herd size. Microscopic examination, it is a conventional test, and the staining with Jim sustain was done. Serological examination was done with by indirect ELISA through IDEX ELISA kit, and these were all the steps that were used and followed for serological examination. Positive specimen cutoff value was 1.10 in our test, and molecular examination was done with the conventional steps of DNA extraction and PCR protocol. These were the forward and reverse primers that were used for the detection of Borrelia, and annealing temperature of 56 degrees centigrade for 30 minutes was uh, our main step that we established after a lot of uh, trials, and before uh, uh, we set the conditions for PCR, as you have seen in this table. Phylogenetic analysis was performed later on the PCR products of 10 samples, and the BSKH medium was used for the cultivation of Borrelia. 24 rabbits, irrespective of age and sex, irrespective of sex, were inoculated, and these rabbits were specific pathogen free, that we have checked already through PCR before going or putting these rabbits for therapeutic trials, and uh, and later on, after cultivation of these Borrelia pathogen on the BSKH medium, zero point 0.1 ml containing 1 into 10 raised to 5, 5 organisms per rabbit was inoculated in each rabbit. Group A, each group had 6 rabbits. Group A was given turmeric along with immune boosters. Group B, doxycycline along with the immune booster, and all of that was the route was oral. And Group C was given doxycycline and turmeric along with the immune booster, while Group D was a control group in which progression of disease was noticed. Blood samples were collected on 3rd, 7th, 12th, 15th, and 17th day post treatment, and our results have shown that out of 270 samples collected from Bhakkar, 7 samples were positive when they subjected to PCR, while 5 samples were positive with ELISA and 2 samples were positive with Jimsa stain. Similarly, in 135 samples collected from Bhakkar, 8 were positive with PCR, 5 with ELISA, and 3 uh, with the Jimsa stain. So Jimsa staining could give a false negative results as well, and that is proved with a lot of studies. Although Jimsa's staining technique is a very good screening technique in those areas and those places where we can't have resources for ELISA and PCR. This was 300 base pair band that was obtained after PCR, and phylogenetic analysis was performed. This phylogenetic analysis tree has shown that our PCR product was more closely related uh, with the with the borrelia species from China, as well as from the borrelia species that were isolated from Ixodes pacificus ticks from USA, and 100% similarity was seen. Uh, when we go for tick identification, 152 samples overall were hiloma, and 48 samples were of Rhephicephalus, and more tick infestation was seen in Bahawalpur as compared with the Bhakkar district. The risk factor analysis have also shown that females camel were more infected with the disease as compared with the male camels, and out of 2 breeds, that is Maricha and Brela, Maricha was more infected with the disease as compared with the other breeds. 3 types of herd size were considered during the studies, and out of 60 herd size, 20% camels were positive. Out of 30 herd size, 6.67% camel were positive for borrelia, and out of 15 herd size, again 6.67% of camel were infected with borrelia. So the disease was mostly seen in the larger herds. This was the data that was obtained with the Jimsa staining technique, and in Bhakkar district, the highest prevalence was seen in Tehsil Mankera only, while other tehsils were negative with the Jimsa staining. Similarly, in case of Bahawalpur, the highest percentage was seen in Tehsil Jasman, followed by Khairpur, while other tehsils were negative on Jimsa staining technique. Uh, this slide shows a comparison of ELISA and PCR on one slide, and we can see that with ELISA, uh, uh, the positive percentage was 3.70% in Bahawalpur as compared with 1.85% in Bhakkar, while on PCR, the positive percentage in Bahawalpur was 5.93% compared with 2.59% in Bhakkar. Comparison of tehsil wise situation also shows that with the PCR we detected some positive cases from all of these tehsils in Bhakkar as well as in Bahawalpur, while with ELISA the situation was different, and the Tehsil Mankera and Tehsil Kalurkot were showing only positive results, while in case of Bahawalpur, Tehsil Jazman, Khairpur, and Hasilpur were only showing positive results. So this was the difference between the between the diagnostic test and their sensitivity. 200 ticks were collected from tick infested camels, as I have already told you, and out of 100 tick samples from Bhakkar, 7% were positive for borrelia, while from Tehsil Bahawalpur, 14% were positive for borrelia. So, these results have shown that tick infestation or ticks from tick population in Bahawalpur showed more positive results as compared to tick population from Bhakkar. The age-wise distribution of the disease also shows variable results, and out of 57 blood samples collected from below 1 year age of camel, 3.51 was the positive percentage. Out of 233 blood samples of 1 to 8 year old camel, the positive percentage was 1.72%, and out of 115 blood samples of above 8 year old camel, the positive percentage was 7.83. So, adult camel were more infected with the disease as compared with the young ones. The clinical signs reversal in experimental animals also shows that in group A that was treated with turmeric, and group B treated with doxycycline along with the immune booster, and group C that was treated with the turmeric and doxycycline along with the immune booster has shown significant difference. And in group C, where both of these drugs were used, there was recovery of animal on the from the third day till they were all animal recovered on the 11th day, while it was not the case in case of the group B and group A, where we only used singly doxycycline and turmeric respectively. On the 17th day, all the groups showed recovery, and this was a very helpful study because it gives us a protocol of treatment of borreliosis in camel. CBC results have also supported our uh, clinical study, and CBC report have also shown that in uh, group A, B, and C, the mean capsular volume decreased with the packed cell volume increase significantly. Average of the red blood cells decreased in group A, B, and C. Average of hemoglobin also decreased in group A, B, and C. Mean capsular hemoglobin concentration increased in group A, B, and C. Platelets and the white blood cells, along with the lymphocytes, also increased in group A, B, and C, while neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils, they decreased in group A, B, and C. Therefore, our clinical result or clinical trials of turmeric and doxycycline were also supported with the hematological studies as well. The outcome of our research was that the study generated data for borreliosis and in camel that was not seen previously. Similarly, these outcomes also suggested that camels play an important part in or important role in the transmission of Borrelia pathogen. The study also helped in developing treatment protocol against Borrelia infection in camel, and it is anticipated that this study will provide insights for academia and researchers to study other aspects of the disease. The recommendations are that the diagnostic labs must be strengthened for the identification of Borrelia species in camels, especially the public sector lab, because we have seen a lot of deficiencies while we were collecting samples and processing them at the district level. Tick infestation control is highly recommended because it is with the tick control we can decrease the infection not only in the animals but also in the risk to the human will also be decreased, and the government must include borreliosis along with other blood parasites, like we have seen that camels were infected with trypanosomiasis, thalidomide, babesiosis as well. But now borreliosis is also another emerging problem, but that is very much neglected. The importance of this disease lies in the fact that it is not only circulating in camel but also could be circulating in other the livestock species as well. and secondly, this disease is zoonotic in nature. If you have any question, you can ask. Thank you so much.